A bit of historical background on this topic. After World War I, the entire world went through widespread economic hardships, such as the Depression, and confused sentiments against other countries involved in the war. Adolf Hitler used this to gain the heart of the German people as he promised to rebuild the German nation. However, this would prove incredibly dangerous to the world as he became more and more hostile by trying to dominate other countries. With Britain and France in danger, they sought substantial amounts of aid from the cautious, seemingly neutral United States. But in providing help to its allies, it paved way for its involvement in the developing World War. While this was happening, Japan was developing its own Japanese empire by attacking parts of Southeast Asia, most notably the territories of the Allies. In addition, Japan also created an alliance with Italy and Germany called the Axis powers. The United States, displeased, sought to negotiate with Japan, but on December 1941, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. As a rebuttal to this, the United States declared war on Japan, therefore allowing for their other allies to declare war on each other. Thus, a world war started between the Allies, Soviet Union, Great Britain, France, and the United States, and the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan. Propaganda began to be heavily used during this time. Propaganda is artwork with the intention of persuading the viewer towards a certain point of view. From this it can be seen that during World War II, governments across the numerous world powers used propaganda to further their war efforts, both negatively and positively. The most popular form of propaganda at this time were propaganda posters, which, in essence, try to bring people to volunteer in the war. There were several techniques when it came to propaganda. First, plain folks. This establishes a one-sided rapport between the viewer and the figure, since they wouldn't be able to relate to the figure and see themselves inside of them. This figure will be seen as plain folks, people, just like everyone else. Second, testimonial. This is when a spokesperson testifies that a specific idea, figure, is superior to another. Third is bandwagon, which is a method of trying to get people to join a cause because others are doing it. Usually they try to tell the viewer that time is running out and they must act now. The fourth method is card stacking. Card stacking is building an overwhelming case on one side of the story while showing considerably less on the other side so that the viewer may join the side with more evidence. The world was becoming heavily influenced with colorful marketing for the war. Traditionally, men were the only ones subject to the war effort. However, in World War II, women were encouraged to participate in the war in any way they could, since any help would mean a victory for the country. They worked jobs that were necessary during wartime, such as typists, clerks, and mail sorters, so that men who were doing those jobs could enlist and fight. Many women worked closely to the armed forces as well, such as nurses and medical corps. Propaganda posters showed that the working women were powerful and that they could enter the workforce but still remain beautiful, feminine, and of course, patriotic. The feminine ideal was now someone who could contribute to the war effort. A bit of an analysis on propaganda art. This image shows a muscular man working hard. He is loading artillery while out on the ocean. The man is meant to appear heroic as he loads the massive round all by himself. Men seeing this poster were meant to be inspired by the man in the image. The phrase, "man the guns," glorified the job. This suggested that the Navy greatly needed assistance, and anyone who joined would have the opportunity to become an American hero. The target audience of the message was young men, and this idealized imagery likely encouraged many to do their civic duty and serve in the Navy during the war. There were many other tactics used in the form of propaganda art to push people to be less wasteful and try to work together to get through these hard times. Not only that, but many racist forms of art were developed against the Japanese. Many of these posters had Japanese people posed as vermin or animals. The Nazis used propaganda to win the support of millions of Germans to facilitate persecution, war, and genocide. Propaganda campaigns created an atmosphere tolerant of violence against Jews. It encouraged passivity and acceptance of impending measures against Jews. They depicted the Nazi government as stepping in and restoring order. At the beginning of World War II, the Nazi regime used propaganda to impress upon German civilians and soldiers that the Jews were not only subhuman, but also dangerous enemies of the German Reich. The regime aimed to elicit support or at least acquiescence for policies aimed at removing Jews from areas of German settlement. Nazi anti-Jewish propaganda often portrayed Jews as engaged in a conspiracy to provoke war. Here, a stereotyped Jew conspires behind the scenes to control the Allied powers, represented by the British, American, and Soviet flags. Nazi propaganda showed that 1. The Jews are our destruction. 2. There are no distinctions between Jews. 3. The Jews are to blame for every fallen German soldier in the war. 4. If anyone wears a Jewish star, he is an enemy to the German people. 5. The Jews enjoy the protection of our enemies. 6. The Jews are the enemy agents among us. He who stands by them aids the enemy. 7. The Jews have no right to claim equality to us. 8. If the Jews try to get on your good side, realize that they are trying to make you forget that they are the enemy, and let them know that you hate them. 9. A decent enemy will deserve our generosity after we have won. The Jew, however, is not a decent enemy, though he tries to seem so. 10. The Jews are responsible for the war. These statements are not true statements, and they were clearly being used to brainwash the Nazi Party and convince them that the Jewish people were bad people.